All right. Here we go, back again on the other side of the coin. All right, we are back again on the other side of the coin, ladies and gentlemen. We are back doing one of these premiere shows for you guys because there's so many news flying around and it's too difficult to do a stream on each and every one of these particular topics. We'll have a stream later today as well in regards to Rudiger and Jorginho and whatnot. So do look out for that. But right now, we do need to talk a bit about this Leroy Sané to Chelsea rumours that is brewing. I mean, whether it's true or not, that's up for you guys to decide. I don't really buy into some of these links until I see some of the big dogs sort of reporting on it, like your Fabrizio Romanos or your Matt Laws or your Simon Johnsons. They haven't really said anything about it, but I can understand where the link is sort of materializing from in regards to the players that are possibly looking to be, I suppose, to be let go of in order to get Sané, which makes this whole situation be very interesting. So we'll touch on this particular topic and really try and understand this deeply. But before we do that, my man Arvind, Bayern Munich fan, how you doing, my brother?
Yeah, not too bad. It's been a long time since I've been on this channel, to be honest. How long ago it's been? Well, last season, that's all I can remember. But obviously, Chelsea, Bayern both made pretty good starts to the season. And yeah, I mean, this rumor was a bit of a weird one, to be honest. I mean, I didn't even know that this rumor was even true. I hadn't even looked at my phone yet. But yeah, no, I've been good, watching football. International break's not really my, favored thing to watch, but listen, it's been all right.
Yeah, man, you're right. Like, just like you, I didn't even see that this was a thing, this Leroy Sané. I didn't even know that there was any sort of possibility that he may even think about going out of Bayern Munich. I mean, it's only been one season. This is his second season. So it's interesting, but it'll be good to talk about all of this. It is the international break. I mean, what are we here for? Do you know what I mean? We're all bored out of our minds, so might as well make it spicy. I mean, let's get straight into this. I want to bring up some news headlines. Don't want to delve deep into some of these articles, but these are some of the headlines that are going around, and there's a ton of it. Report: Chelsea to push for Leroy Sané transfer and could offer Bayern Munich 3 players. This is from Fan Nation, but there's a ton.
Yeah,
you'll see here. Let me just bring this out. There we go. Sports Illustrated: Chelsea to push for Leroy Sané transfer and could offer Bayern Munich 3 players. Manchester Evening News: Manchester City have a simple Leroy Sané decision to make as Chelsea FC link emerge. I think City have a sell-on clause, so they can make some money out of this.
Yeah, they do.
If Sané is sold again. Ilkay Gundogan and Hansi Flick agree over Leroy Sané as Chelsea look to complete. I'm not really sure. Ilkay Gundogan and this was the article. Ilkay Gundogan and Hansi Flick agree over Leroy Sané as Chelsea look to complete 54 million transfer. The Blues has been linked with Bayern Munich, Germany winger, who's received some big praise from Ilkay Gundogan. Okay, that's probably
the Daily Standard and the Football Express. They reported it as well. So. Yeah. Not sure whether it's reliable. I mean, I won't believe anything till again, as you said, one of the big dogs.
I mean,
report, but yeah,
I'm not going to take Football Express and all these guys seriously, to be honest. I know, and there's a whole heap of articles left, right, and center. Bavarian football, the aftermath. I think that's something else. I hate when Chelsea FC, when they do their media watch, Chelsea linked to Sané. It's incredible. But let's just talk a little bit about this, right? Sané to Chelsea, as we've already mentioned, I don't know how this is materializing, but I can see from Chelsea perspective, the 3 players. So more or less, the report is saying that Chelsea is willing to part ways with either one of those 3 players in order to get Sané. Now, those 3 players, let's talk about that before we go into the whole Sané situation. understand what's going on there. His season at Man City when he was injured, and his season at Bayern Munich, and so on and so forth. The three players that have been talked about from Chelsea's point of view to be, being given as an option for Bayern Munich to go the other way and us getting Sane is Ziyech, Hudson-Odoi, or Christian Pulisic. Now, let's start the story from here. Hudson-Odoi, we've seen it this summer. There's been massive rumors that he was going to go out on loan. His time at Chelsea, as talented as he is, he just doesn't get enough game time for the youngster that he deserves to get that minute in terms of his development. And I'm not having a guy at Thomas Tuchel because it's very difficult to give minutes at the moment when you're trying to go for, or when you're trying to compete in all fronts. So Callum was penciled down to either play as a right wing back or a left winger or a right winger or, inside forwards. But there's competition in each and every one of those positions, and it's not easy. Christian Pulisic has injury concerns, inconsistencies with his performances. Yes, we've seen great performances as well, undoubtedly, but there's constant inconsistencies. That's the key word there. But this is probably the biggest season for him. Ziyech, there was once again rumors this summer that just went by the window that he was possibly going to be going towards AC Milan. Chelsea were open at one stage, weren't open for a loan, but they were open to sell. It didn't happen because AC Milan didn't put any bid or anything like that. And Chelsea were very happy to keep him, and he's been doing very well pre-season, strong pre-season. Villarreal scored that goal as well in the Super Cup, then got himself injured, and then now there's a bit of a, whatever happens after an injury, I suppose. From your perspective of him, let's talk now from a Bayern Munich perspective, you being a Bayern fan. Can you picture Bayern Munich possibly buying any of these three players in a swap deal with Sane? I mean, what's your initial thoughts about this?
Obviously, we were linked with Cam Hudson-Odoi for about probably like a year and a half. That story, it was
even 2 years.
It was back in but it was back in 2019 where he handed in like 3 transfer requests in January just to come to us. And obviously, back then we needed a 4th choice winger just to just to free our squad up a little bit and have a bit of security if, for example, for instance, Gnabry, Coman got injured. So, yeah, we've always looked at Cam Hudson-Odoi, but if it were to be Cam Hudson-Odoi, I'd say I'd want a bit of money with that as well. I'm not sure how much, because obviously Sane hasn't exactly proven to us and like how much he's valued at, because he's a player that has moments, that doesn't have moments. So, yeah. Moving on to Pulisic now, again, same thing, to be honest. But obviously, in my eyes, he's a bit better than Cam Hudson-Odoi. I think you can agree with that as well. When he has his moments, he's a terrific player. Obviously, he scored that goal in the semi-final, had that run in the lockdown period as well. And it's just inconsistencies of injuries. I feel like that's the case of a lot of these players, all 3 of the players here, actually. Cam Hudson-Odoi, he had that heel injury or something. I think it was
what do you call it? Achilles injury.
Achilles injury. Again, like Loftus-Cheek, he had that brilliant run in Europa League. He did get injured. And same with Ziyech, exactly. He's shown his qualities at Ajax, especially during 2019. He's come to Chelsea, has had quite good spells here and there, but it's been patchy. Again, same thing with, the same story of all these 3 players. They've shown their moments. They've shown you guys what they're capable of, but, they haven't delivered it on all moments, and that's why they're out of the squad.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's interesting. It seems like you being a Bayern Munich fan, you're not completely convinced with any 3 of those players in order for a swap change. I mean, they all have great capabilities, great facets, definitely. Great skills, but it's not something that it kind of like screams out for you that that's a player that I want. Happy to let go of Sane, which is interesting. And I just want to quickly bring this up now, the whole Sane situation, and then I want to give my perspective on how I feel about Sane at Chelsea. Now, this is Leroy Sane's. Let me see if I can just enlarge that a little bit more. Okay. So Leroy Sané, 25, still very young man. We already know his qualities from his Manchester City days. Absolutely brilliant as a winger. And then we'll talk a lot more about his skill set. But he's got a contract that is till June 30th, 2025. So he's got 4 years left still. Just a bit less than 4 years. Transfer market's valuing him about 60 million euros, which is probably more or less right. With his current situation and his which we'll look at. We've got the stats out here. 2021. So 1920. Let's just have a quick look at this. This is the season where he was injured and he did not feature any at all for Manchester City. The one game in the Community Shield, one in the Premier League 2 as well, where he must have just played, when he was coming off from injury. So obviously off the back of that, City then sold him and didn't want to wait till his last year of his contract. And then he went to the Bundesliga with Bayern Munich. And 32 matches in the Bundesliga, 6 goals, 10 assists. Overall, so 8 matches in Champions League as well, 3 goals, 1 assist. 44 matches in that season, 10 goals, 12 assists. I don't necessarily think that's a bad return from the first season. But that was under Hansi Flick, obviously the current German coach, and he fancies Leroy Sané at the moment. But now it's Nagelsmann. And I know it's early days, but he's only played, 3 matches in the Bundesliga. I don't think they're all starts either. We'll get a chance to see here yet. 75 minutes against Mönchengladbach, 45 minutes against Cologne, Hertha Berlin, 29 minutes as well. And it seems like, as you've mentioned, Jamal Musiella has taken over. 5 starts, 1 goal, 3 assists. I mean, DFB Pokal, that was a 12-0 drubbing. So we need to be a bit cautious about how we're going to treat that. But, I mean, looking at Sané's skill set, right, I feel like he's a very left-sided player. And, he loves to hug that sideline. He's not necessarily like a Riyad Mahrez type where he plays on the right, cuts back in. Like, he can do that, but that's not his natural sort of play. We've seen him at City, where he's played as a wide left winger, and he loves to sort of drive in, come into the box in those areas. That brilliant goal that he scored against Liverpool to basically tie up that title for that season. I think it was 18-19 might have been.
It was 2-1 that game. Yeah,
2-1. I mean, Arvind, from your perspective, before I give my Chelsea sort of side of Sané, can you see, because you watch a bit of Premier League, I mean, can you see Leroy Sané fitting into the current Chelsea structure under Thomas Tuchel?
Based off of his attitude, definitely not. Like, I'll be completely honest with Sané here. And see, the numbers don't look that bad in terms of, obviously, the fact that he's returned from an ACL injury. It's not the problem to say that it's his numbers, goals and assists, but it's the fact that, and this is another important thing for Bayern fans as well, because they were really taunting him at the start of this season. So it's basically...
By the way, what is that? Why are they taunting him? Because I saw that he was getting booed or something.
Yeah,
like
he was getting booed. I think it was against... wasn't against... Who was he against? It wasn't Hertha Berlin. He wasn't Hertha Berlin. I think it was when we won 3-2 against Cologne. That's it. So he was just very lackluster. He didn't... Every time he lost the ball, he was just, he was strolling off. He was shaking his head. Not that result, but we won 3-2. It was the start of this season. It was just, I don't even know, to be honest. Every time he gave the ball away, he's just shaking his head, walking down, and that's what got the Bayern fans going. They were just, booing him consistently, and he had to be taken off at halftime for Jamal Musiala, who did actually get an assist that game. And recently, he has been actually dropped for Jamal Musiala. And even last season, the only times he did actually start a lot was because we didn't have that many players in that position. And Jamal Musiala wasn't really ready. So he had to basically start because we had quite a few injuries as well. But the problem was with Leroy Sané is that every time he lost the ball, even the ISO, is just very lackluster. especially on the right hand side where where we said was his favorite position. He was just, it was very predictable. All he was going to do was cut inside. He never went round the, he never went round the outside. He never wanted to use his right foot. But now recently, Nagelsmann's now put him in a left wing position, and this is where I've seen the improvement now. Is that even if you've watched him with Germany under Hansi Flick, he's been on the left side, and he's played much better. And his work ethic has been better.
But by the way, that's how he's been playing for Man City most of the times. On
exactly.
the left side.
Yeah. So I can't understand why he was ever put on the right side, because he's very predictable in that position. Whereas I think on the left-hand side, he can go in, he can go out. You've seen, if any of you watched the Germany game over the past couple of days with the Germany games, he started both of the games and he's played exceptionally well. And I just sometimes it's just his work ethic, and I can't understand it. Obviously, people say it's his ACL injury. But if you were to fit him in the Tuchel side, I don't think he'd even start, because his attitude, especially, last season, was just off. There could be a change. I'm not going to turn on him, because I know his qualities and I know that his moments is where he's exceptional. Obviously, we've seen that for Manchester City. But, sometimes, especially for Bayern as well, he's just had very lackluster performances, almost just trudged off, shaking his head every time he loses it, doesn't run back for the ball.
Yeah, and see, this concerns me, Arvind, because I feel like in our system under Thomas Tuchel, you better run.
Yeah,
that's one of the biggest factor under Thomas Tuchel. That off the ball, there is intense work rate. You look at someone like Timo Werner, right? He generally plays that sort of inside forward, second striker role on that left side, drifting in. His work rate, I think you would have seen, is immense. The amount of running that this particular player does from that side, and not just that, Mason Mount on the right side, the pressing, counter-pressing, the energy is unbelievable. Kai Havertz as well. Many think that he's lazy. But even Kai has to put in that shift. He drops deep in midfield. He even helps out, off the ball when we're defending. Going forward, there's a lot of movement there as well. So, I mean, is that one of the reasons? Like, because as you said, Jamal Musiella is the one who's. I know he just started this particular game against. I believe this is Hertha. And you've been saying that he came off the bench the previous game as well. He's looked pretty decent for Germany too. Yeah. I mean, is this one of the reasons why you could possibly start seeing Jamal Musiella taking over in Bayern Munich in the starting lineup from Leroy Sané, because of that attitude that you're talking about, Arvind, that he doesn't always tend to have that work ethic? I mean, talk to me about that work ethic, and also, have you seen any sort of information or article from Bayern's perspective, like off the field as well? Is there any sort of attitude issues around that?
It wasn't. I can't really pinpoint, because there was apparently a phone call from Hansi Flick to Nagelsmann where he wanted to talk about Leroy Sané. He wanted to find out the issues as to why he was being lazy, and Hansi Flick didn't actually say much good about him. He didn't hear much about his attitude. There wasn't really much going on there. But I feel like in recent times, especially the past 3 games, I watched him for Germany, and that coming off the bench against Hertha Berlin where he got an assist. That's only the really time where I've seen Leroy Sané actually working harder and trying to push in for the lineup, because I think currently now, I think Jamal Musiala is more favoured to start. Even, we've got Leipzig and Barcelona as our next 3 games. And I feel like if you were to ask me now, who would I start, Leroy Sané or Jamal Musiala, I'd say Musiala, because
so Musiala's stocks are rising. Yeah, he's another Chelsea boy, by the way.
Yeah, thanks for giving him to us, by the way. He's the terrific talent. But honestly, Leroy Sané, he still needs to. Obviously, he needs to keep doing what he's been doing for Germany and for Hertha, and exactly the level of opposition. Obviously, Hertha, Armenia, Liechtenstein, not exactly brilliant, but at least he showcased better quality. And, he's been working harder, I'd say, because I think, obviously, if Jamal Musiala replaces you as an 18-year-old in the starting lineup, you've got to work harder. But listen, he's still a player of tremendous quality, but it's, again, that work ethic that just, that just lacks with him. I don't know whether it's his ACL injury. I don't know whether it's because he's lost a yard of pace. Maybe he needs to build it up. this season he actually came back in really good shape, or that's what I was told by certain reports. But he wasn't showcasing that. Now recently he has been, but it's too late because he's already out of the starting 11 by now. But he needs to work hard. Could I see a move to Chelsea in January? If he's still, playing like this and he's just not really favoured, then I guess, Thomas Tuchel can maybe bring the best out of him again. Maybe bring the best out of him. I've known Tuchel to do that, obviously, with Dortmund, with his time at PSG, with, Chelsea now. So, yeah, it's interesting, this one. But Leroy Sane's work ethic, really, the only thing that's holding him back, and his attitude.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I mean, I just want to have a quick look at his salary as well before we get into even more detail. So before we look into this whole salary situation, would you say, if I was to ask you right now, as a Bayern Munich fan, would you be okay to let go of Sane and possibly give Jamal Musiella the opportunity to have that regular minutes up front and then look to replace someone with Sane? I mean, is that where the Bayern Munich fans are at the moment, that they're okay to let go of someone like Sane, or you're still willing to keep someone like Sane?
A lot of the Bayern fans aren't, because they've, obviously, a lot of fans are irrational and they say, oh, get him out the club. And, I've rubbished these rumors, because honestly, someone like Sane, I would still give time, because he's, big money signing. I know it's only 49 million, but to buy that is quite a lot, considering they don't spend that much money. So
yeah.
I would still give him time, but obviously if his attitude and his work ethic just needs to improve. Otherwise, I would just, at the end of the season, especially, I'd just be willing to say, look, Jamal Musiala's worked harder. If we get someone like Ziyech or Pulisic, someone that can again rival him and who has a better attitude on, who can play in the left-hand side, maybe challenge Jamal Musiala.
What about Callum? Would you go again for Callum for the 5th or 6th or 10th time?
I mean, to be honest, having Cam Hudson-Odoi and Jamal Musiala, two Englishmen battling out on the left-hand side, would be quite interesting. I mean, I wouldn't be up against it, because they're sort of in a similar vein. I'd say that, they're both obviously looking to break in as, future stars and stuff like that. So Musiala, Cam Hudson-Odoi again, Cam Hudson-Odoi, he's shown, obviously, I'd say, I wouldn't say better attitude, but I feel like he does have a better attitude as opposed to Sane. He's young, he's hungry, he wants to push in, even to Chelsea's lineup. So would I let go of him for Sane? Necessarily not. Maybe I'd have Hudson-Odoi as a 4th choice winger, just to, maybe push, for example, maybe Gnabry or Coman a bit more. Yeah. But I'd still choose Pulisic or Ziyech over Cam Hudson-Odoi by 100%, because I feel like obviously they're ones that can really break into our 11 and start. They could have the potential to start every week.
No, fairs, man. I heard something during the transfer window, and I want to talk about this. This is very interesting, and it ties in with this wages. I'm not sure how accurate these wages are, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. This is from Salary Sport. This is what I used recently for Barcelona wages as well, and it seemed like it was quite spot on. I mean, Arvind can sort of give us a bit of an indication if it's right. It's saying that Sane is earning about 298k pounds per week.
Yeah, well, from what I've heard, it's around 19 million a year.
Yeah,
so
that's,
is
that euros, 19 million euros?
To be honest. Yeah, it's quite accurate. Yeah, sorry, it is. I mean, I don't understand really, because we have a situation here at Bayern as well where Coman, he's recently been offered contracts, but he feels like he should have the same money as Sane for about 20 million. Yeah. And the thing is now that we have an underperforming player who's on high wages, and now, for example, the likes of Gnabry, Coman, who are on low wages, but they work harder, now say, well, why don't I get this type of money? So we have a real situation here where we say, look, this guy, he's getting other players to be on the same contract, because we expected Sane to be starting winger, every single game, drawing up the big numbers, but he just hasn't. And Coman, Gnabry, who have been signed ahead of him, now feel like as if they should be getting more, which is the real problem that we have here now.
See, this is what I want to talk about, Arvind, because I think this has a bigger implication as to why this rumor might have come around, whether there's any legs to it. So you're saying pretty much that's more or less correct, whether it's euros or pounds, 19 million euros, 15 million pounds, more or less that's right. 298k pounds per week. Now, I heard a story from Jan Age Foytoft during the transfer window when the whole Haaland situation was taking place, that Bayern Munich, who are supposedly be one of the sort of interested party for Haaland for next season when that particular release clause kicks in. But he was saying that Bayern's actually financially in a bit of a mud at the moment. And I don't know how much you know about this. Apparently they're on like 150 million loss or something like that from previous season because of the pandemic. No fans. I know that is changing this season, but still that's massive losses that they've incurred. And then on top of that, they are looking to offload. That's why there's been rumors about Kingsley Coman to Chelsea, Kingsley Coman to whoever else. Now Sane to Chelsea, because these players are on some big wages. And the other issue, Arvind, is that Bayern really wants to keep a hold of Kimmich, Leon Goretzka, and a couple of the other big sort of Bayern Munich superstars they want to keep a hold of and create a core sort of situation with them. And those players, Kimmich and Goretzka, are not earning anywhere near as what Sane is earning or as what some of the superstars are earning in Bayern Munich. And those players are turning around saying, you better be paying me that level of money because I am one of the superstars and you want to keep me. Is this a reason why there could be a chance of come at the end of this season into the next summer, there could be some high-profile exits from Bayern Munich? I mean, have you heard any rumors about loss in Bayern Munich and they're trying to balance the books? That's why players like Musiella are coming through. That's why maybe Bayern could be interested at someone like Callum or someone, potential, but less sort of salary to be paid while they have the core with Kimmich and Goretzka and whoever else. I mean, is that something that you guys have been hearing?
Well, I've had the revenue loss that we've incurred throughout the past 2 seasons, obviously because of the pandemic. For that, the Champions League did help us out a little bit. We were not in debt or anything because we're still a brilliantly run club, in my opinion. Obviously, the signings that we make, obviously, we spent around £90 million, which is still a lot considering we didn't have that much. And I've been hearing like the only way that we could sign players is if we had to sell the likes of Tolisso, Bruno Sarr, something like that. But now with this contract situation, I mean, I pretty much think that Coman's gone because he's not going to get anywhere near the wages that Sane's on. And for Coman, not to have a personal dig at him, but it is all about the money for him. And the same situation was with Alaba, and that's why we let him go. Same situation was with Thiago. He wanted bigger wages. Sorry, not Thiago. He wanted just a different challenge. But David Alaba, especially, he was one of the main problems that we had because he asked for so much money. That we just, it was insane. He was one of the same wages that Lewandowski, which are the top 3 most earning clubs at Bayern. Sorry, top 3 most earning players at Bayern. So again, same situation. I mean, now looking at it from this point of view, Sane could be gone by the end of the season if he doesn't pick up his performances, because we can't be having Gnabry, Coman, who are signed ahead of him on lesser wages. It just doesn't really make sense to me. But Kimmich, I've heard now he's signed his deal. Goretzka's also signed his deal. Kimmich will be earning around the same as Sane, but obviously he deserves that. But I can't believe that Sane and Kimmich are now on the same wages, because Kimmich should be on much higher wages than Sane. But listen, there's a weird contract situation. We're obviously not trying to match up to the wages that, for example, PSG have or Barcelona have, because that'd be ridiculous. Lewandowski is our top earning player, and he's only on 350k a week. So I just
brought up Gnabry's weekly wages, 123k a week. There is no way he would be happy with that when Sane is on 298k a week. Do you know what I mean?
That's around the same that Cam Hudson-Odoi is on at Chelsea, 120. 120k.
Oh my God, so true.
Yeah, exactly. So this is what I mean. But listen, Sane, he really needs to just step up his performance. Otherwise, if these players keep asking for higher wages because someone who isn't a starting 11, who they're starting ahead of, is getting more, is getting paid more than them, they'll be thinking, what's going on? No, it's a bit of a weird one, but obviously, I still have faith. But at the end of the season, if he's still not a starter at Bayern and he's being paid that much, then I guess we would have to let him go.
I think this is an interesting situation, Arvind. You're right. Gnabry is, he is one of the first ones in the team sheet, right?
100%.
Yeah, and then even for Germany as well. And he's supremely talented. There's no doubt about that. He's on 123K a week. As you said, someone like Hudson-Odoi is on similar sort of wages. He barely even plays for us. And then Sane, who's now sort of not favored, getting booed by the crowd, 298K. Gnabry would be saying, what's going on? As you said, what's going on here? Like, I'm the superstar and I'm earning half the wages, more than half the wages than what Sane is earning, which is incredible. Possibly there could be a situation here, as you said, Kingsley Coman, who's also been rumored during the transfer window in the summer, and Sane. I'm starting to think there could be some legs here. Christian Folks, I'll be looking out for Christian Folks for these sort of news, but we'll see what happens. Let's talk now from the Chelsea point of view, right? Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi, Ziyech. This is the season, Arvind. It's so important for all three of these particular players because, one, we are competing in all competition. We're competing in the Premier League to one of the title contenders for that. We're going to go again in the Champions League. Club World Cup is just around the corner in December. All domestic cups, we're going to try our best to win that. We've already secured Super Cup, so it's brilliant. We are creating, hopefully, a legacy under Thomas Tuchel. So we don't have time for dilly-dallying around. We don't have time for passengers. We need our players like Callum, Ziyech, and Pulisic. As much as I love Ziyech, I'm going to be real now. We need production. At the end of the day, we need production. We've got Romelu Lukaku, which is great. He's going to hopefully bang in the goals and bring in those 25 goals for the season for us. In the Premier League, all up in all competition. If we get more than that, brilliant. But I'm expecting at least 20 goals in the Premier League, and then in all competition, if we can get somewhere close to 30, that'd be great as a first season. And I think he probably will have that particular expectation. But Lukaku can't do it all by himself. He cannot do this all by himself. He needs goals from, your Pulisic's, your Havertz, your Mason Mounts, your Ziyech. And I feel like this is the season, Arvind. If we see another season where Callum barely gets any minutes, he gets that odd game here and there, I think that's detrimental for a player like Callum to stick around. Because you look at in his sort of youngster sort of group, Mason Greenwood, Arvind, is absolutely blowing things apart. He's leaving everyone behind. And he's now getting to a point where there's genuine conversation whether he starts alongside Cristiano Ronaldo, and someone like Rashford is probably benched. I know Rashford is still injured and whatnot, but Mason Greenwood's stocks are rising. Bukayo Saka's stocks are rising in Arsenal. And there are other youngsters, Phil Foden, we won't even talk about. Phil Foden he's got into that superstar level. Christian Pulisic, the same thing, these injuries. If this season, another season where he plays literally, say, 50% of the game, and he keeps picking up those little injuries here and there. And then whenever he plays, he doesn't tend to be consistent enough. I need to see more assists. I need to see more goals from him. Christian Pulisic, one of the biggest issues I have with him is when he dribbles, he doesn't lift his head up. He literally misses out on so many assists on a regular basis. That seems to be a bit of an annoying factor for me. He's a fantastic player. But if he doesn't improve on that quality this season, this is his third season. This is Callum's proper third season after the injury. Ziyech, okay, fine, this is his second season. But even then, Ziyech is meant to be in his prime. As great as Ziyech is from that left side cutting in, and he's so brilliant with that left foot, his vision, his diagonal passes, his long passes, short passes, his ability to shoot from distance, set pieces, all fantastic. But if they don't materialize into production, and I feel like this season it was going that way. He's had a strong preseason, strong game against Villarreal until he got injured. But I think he will probably get an opportunity against Aston Villa coming up this weekend, and he needs to take that opportunity with full, with his both hands and do really, really well. I mean, from a person looking outside now, we've talked about Bayern Munich. Now, take away that Bayern Munich had and just looking outside the Chelsea situation. Do you see it the same way with these three players, that if one of these players are not having a good season, or even two of these players are not having a good season this particular season, that they will end up getting hurt at the end of the season? There is no passengers. We will end up replacing either one or two, whether it be loan or sell or whatnot. I mean, do you see it that way, that it is high demand at Chelsea that you do start producing now?
I think that in the direction you're going, especially, you don't have the time for these players. Like, these players get washed all over once, you come up to the top level of, you're competing on all fronts. It's good to have the squad depth, but, when the point is of squad depth is that when the players do come in from the bench, for example, they do deliver.
Yep.
Pulisic, I do see that from him, but again, like Leroy Sane, I would say he's a moments player, and I feel like he has patchy form here and there, a bit like Leroy Sane. I feel like, the work rate for him, I'd say, is there. But again, his moments are just, they're not enough to, let's say, win you for you or win you a Champions League or Premier League in the long 38-game season in the Premier League. There's no way Pulisic is even making that, because he's never done it in his career before.
Yeah,
I feel
even at Dortmund, Dortmund,
exactly, yeah. I mean, he was. I don't mean to be, harsh on him, but he was replaced by Jadon Sancho, who hadn't even played football, professional football, before he came to Dortmund. Exactly. Yeah. So again, I feel like Ziyech would be fine if he didn't have the injuries that obviously he has. Again, but like we've seen with Leroy Sane now, he's had the injury, and as much as we can sit here and say, we're sad that he's had his injury, you can't wait for him to, get to his best form, because let's say if Nagelsmann opts to start him all the time because he feels sorry for him, because he wants him to get back to his best, but after his injury, then it's just a waste of time, and you're missing out on someone like Jamal Musiella, who's ready to play hungry.
Yeah.
And that's what I see in Ziyech. I feel like he's got all the talent, but again, with the injuries, it's very harsh, especially football right now. It doesn't, you can't wait. You just have to play the players that just,
especially clubs like Chelsea as well. Like,
exactly.
There's no waiting. There is literally no waiting. Yeah. It's now.
Yeah. It's literally like immediate success, especially, Ziyech is not going to be able to keep on doing this when he's injured all the time, because someone like Mount would rise miles ahead of him in the pecking order. Same with Werner, the players that are fit all the time, and then he'll just get, drifted into a corner where nobody will even think about starting him, maybe in an odd cup game. But again, Ziyech has the quality, but injuries are a thing that just keeps, I'd say, just holding his career back, basically. And again, Hudson-Odoi now, this is interesting, because again, he's had an injury and he can't force his way into the 11 because there's so many players that are just above him in the pecking order. Is just, even in the right wing back position, he doesn't necessarily feel comfortable there. But if that's a position that he can get into ahead of, for example, right wing, left wing, then he's just going to have to take it. But, obviously his favorite positions, either, maybe in the way that Chelsea play a right inside forward, a left inside forward. But there's no way that he'll get ahead of Werner, Mount, Lukaku. I just can't see that happening.
Bro, honestly, up front, obviously you got Lukaku, so he's two spots, and the other spot more or less is covered by Mason Mount at the moment.
Exactly,
and then there's Ziyech as well. So it's literally one spot that he's possibly fighting for. Okay, let's say two, right? The two behind Lukaku. There's Havertz, there's Mount, there's Ziyech, there's Timo Werner, there's Pulisic. There's 5 players, and then it's him. So he's the 6th one fighting for 2 spots. It's, do you know what I mean? Like, it's incredible. The chances for him to play. And now that I'm thinking, him earning almost the same as what Gnabry is earning at Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
And Gnabry is absolutely killing it at Bayern Munich. One of your biggest players, one of the biggest players in Germany. I mean, it's getting to a point where, Arvind, it is a little bit ridiculous, the whole Callum situation. I mean, one, he's not playing enough. Like Musiella is getting game time from you guys.
Yeah.
Callum's not even getting that on a regular basis, so he can develop, so he can start saying that, yeah, I'm worthy enough to earn that 120K a week because I'm developing, I'm doing better, I'm playing games. He's not even having that particular situation. So for me, I don't know, man. Like, if this continues for this particular season, I don't think we can justify keeping someone like Callum. We would need to either think about a loan. I'm so gutted that he didn't end up getting that loan with Dortmund. There was
Yeah.
big
Oh,
rumors that he
yeah.
was. I mean, what do you? I know you keep in touch with the German Bundesliga and whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean, was there any? Because it seemed like Dortmund was keen on this particular loan. I mean, have you seen any news around this particular situation?
There was interest. That's what I've heard. I didn't know about Dortmund actually putting in the loan bid for Cam Hudson-Odoi. I don't know if they, I don't know if that's happened or anything. But obviously, actually, no, Tuchel blocked the move anyway because he said
Tuchel blocked it.
Tuchel blocked it anyway because he said he's part of his plans. Well, that's the report that I saw anyway. And if he had gone, obviously Dortmund were looking to replace Jadon Sancho. They did with Marlon, Daniel Marlon, because with under Marco Rose now they play, or they would want to play in a two-striker system, but they haven't, apart from Torg and Hazard, they haven't really got any real wingers or any proper wingers in their side now.
He probably would have started for Dortmund, yeah?
Yeah,
he would have got
exactly.
game time.
Yeah, so because they don't have any proper right wingers, I feel like obviously they have Giovanni Reina and they have Torgan Hazard on the left-hand side. They don't actually have a right winger. That's where Cam Hudson-Odoi could have profited. But, if Tuchel says he's part of his plans, then I don't exactly know how he's going to fit into this. Obviously, I don't know how he's going to break into this Chelsea side, first of all. But if he'd have gone out on loan to Dortmund, obviously we've seen a lot of English youngsters from recent times going to these Bundesliga clubs. Maybe he could have profited from, this is what I need to do to get into the starting lineup. I need to work really hard. He would have had the basis or the foundation of knowing what it takes to get into the starting 11. Maybe from Dortmund, he could have gained that experience. But listen, this season, if Tuchel's willing to give him the chance, then I guess, Tuchel knows what he's doing. We've seen that from him, for the past year. But yeah, it's just a bit of an odd one, really. I can't really put my words. I can't really put any words into. I mean, Cam Hudson-Odoi, if he would have gone out on loan, maybe he could have performed better. But I don't know what Tuchel's plan is exactly with him. But we'll just have to see, really.
Yeah, man, 100%, right? We'll see exactly what's going on. Let's how we start wrapping this up, man. I mean, look, as I said, I think either one of those three players, if they don't perform this season, they're going to get hurt. Any of those three players, they would have to perform really, really well. Just want to ask you, you did mention earlier on that if there was one player that you were going to swap Sane with a bit of cash, maybe it'd probably be Ziyech. I just want to quickly ask you, you've now watched Nagelsmann for a little bit, and obviously you've seen him under Leipzig as well. Would Ziyech fit into that whole Nagelsmann Bayern Munich setup at the moment? Can you see him fitting in? Because I feel like the way Bayern plays is you do like your wingers wide. I haven't really recently watched your games, but would Ziyech fit in?
In Nagelsmann's current system and in the way that he has played under Leipzig, because we've seen obviously when Timo Werner left, and even when Timo Werner was there, even at RB Leipzig, he really utilized the likes of Dani Olmo, Christopher Nkunku, and all these, Dominic Szoboszlai who came in. He had a lot of central attacking midfielders at RB Leipzig, not necessarily to the quality that was of Hakim Ziyech, but especially since I'd say Ziyech is more like a Felipe Coutinho type of player when we had him in 1920. And he really profited from that because Felipe Coutinho was a brilliant signing for us. He scored those 2 goals against Barcelona. He was really driving all these players on. But obviously that was under Hansi Flick. But Nagelsmann, he can sometimes put a Cam into maybe a left wing position or right wing position and know how to really utilize them very well, especially since the fact that, Thomas Muller's getting old. Thomas Muller can even play on the right hand side if he needs to, and we've done that before. And we've done that quite a lot of times where we've deployed, Cams as, left wingers or right wingers just to act as,
I think you're bang on, bro.
or actually, no, if we were to deploy him on the left-hand side, for example, and he was cutting in, that would allow Davis to just, have the freedom of the pitch, just bomb down that left-hand side. So that could be a position where he could be deployed, pushing on the likes of Musiala. And even if he was to get injured, Musiala could be that player that just, comes in, there would be no pressure on Ziyech. But again, I do see him still, I do see his future light at Chelsea. But that's sort of the position that's sort of the player that I'd really want at Bayern, because look at his Ajax run in 2019. The quality was all there to see. He's a tremendous player.
100%. I do hope as well that Ziyech stays at Chelsea and absolutely has a stellar season.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Who let's say if you had to let go of one of them, Hudson-Odoi, Pulisic, or Ziyech, who would you let go? I know probably Ziyech is not going to be in that conversation for you, but maybe either at the end of the season, who do you really see not getting any game time or being shipped out?
Very, very good question, Arvind. I'm so glad you've asked me this, and it's a good way to sort of round this up. Yeah, look, I'm biased, so I'm not going to hide around, I'm not going to beat around the bush for that. I would want to keep Ziyech, and I want to hopefully he has a big season and we can build something with him. So it's really between Callum and Pulisic for me. And I feel like I would keep Callum because he's 20, and I know Pulisic isn't any much older. He's 22. He's going to be 23 this season. It's not like he's, miles older than him. But I feel like with Callum, if given the time, the development opportunity, there is an explosive player that is about to get unleashed and could turn out to be unbelievable. And I'm waiting for that. I did see glimpses of that under Sarri in the Europa League. I know he was very young. He was 18, just turned 18. But he had explosive pace, his directness in dribbling. And I know Pulisic is similar. His dribbling is like that. But the thing with Pulisic that worries me, Arvind, is the constant niggly injuries here and there. Unless and until I can see Pulisic put a whole season where he hasn't been injured and he's been able to play 80 to 85% of the games. And also his inconsistencies. Like, I really want him to put on 5 or 6 games of goals, assists, like what he did in the post lockdown. That post lockdown seems like a distant memory now. Like, it feels like that was maybe just a spur of the moment, as you said, Irving. And I really want to see that on a consistent. If you're going to be a top player, I want to see that. I know a lot of people can turn around and say, "Well, we haven't seen that with Callum, and Callum's got injury concerns as well." But I feel like he's 20, and I haven't seen his peak, potentially. I would like to see that, and I feel like Callum last season, he wasn't really injured at all. He was just out of favour, so that's why he wasn't getting enough game time. And I hope that he doesn't get injured this season. So for me, it will be Christian Pulisic that I would let go. But look, at the end of the day, it's just I don't necessarily see a reason for Chelsea to get Leroy Sane, to be honest. If I'm being absolutely honest about it, if I'm now talking about Sane to Chelsea, the way I look at it is Thomas Tuchel probably deploy him on the left side, as a genuine winger. I can't see Sane playing as an inside forward the way we're playing right now. We could possibly change our our style of play to fit someone like Sane, where he hugs the sort of left wing and then drives in, combines with Lukaku and
someone to really stretch the play, basically.
Yeah, someone to stretch the play. At the moment, we get the stretch of the play with our wing backs. Those are the ones who stretch the play. But the wages, he's on 298k. Like, I don't know whether he's going to get that level of money to come into Chelsea when we've got big time players within our setup. Mason Mount's one who's probably going to look in ahead and thinking, well, I need to be earning a little bit more money as well. Romelu Lukaku at the moment is one of the highest paid earner, if not the highest, somewhere around the 350k mark. Someone like Sane coming in and earning just as, the 300k. I just don't see that happening. As you said, his attitude, he's got to be working so hard for us. He's got to run non-stop, and that's one of the key things. So for me, I don't know. I know he's young, he's 25, and maybe Thomas Tuchel could get the best of him. If we get him, fine, but I just can't picture it. I do know that one of those three players that we've talked about, Callum, Ziyech, Pulisic, if they're not performing this season, one or two might even get left out. So then we do need to go into the market and find replacement. Whether that's Sane, that's up for discussion. I personally don't see how we can utilize him in our current sort of structure. Maybe we change. I don't know. Yeah, it's not something that absolutely excites me, to be honest. Leroy Sane back in Manchester City, the way Pep deployed him on the very wide left, that was exciting. And if we can do that under Thomas Tuchel, perhaps, and use Lukaku as a focal point. So we'll see what happens. Ladies and gentlemen, let us know what your thoughts are. Do you want Leroy Sane at Chelsea? And if that's the case, why? And who would you want to get rid of, whether it's Callum, whether it's Ziyech or Pulisic? Who would you accommodate Sane, in order to get Sane in? Who would you let go of? So do let us know. Arvind, thank you so much for your time, my man, for doing this and having this conversation. Any sort of last words before you go? I mean, Bayern sort of situation, anything that you want to mention?
Not really much, to be honest. I feel like, obviously a lot was said here. But listen, look, on the Leroy Sane situation, like I said, if he improves his attitude, makes himself better, gets in ahead of Jamal Musiella, then returns back to City days, in the simpler words, then 100%. I feel like obviously Chelsea will probably be interested in him. But listen, look, I hope he stays. I hope he does well. And obviously, let's look at the season. And obviously, good luck to you guys for the start of the season. Hopefully, no one else gets injured, because we have a couple of injuries ourselves. So hopefully, Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi and Ziyech. That's going to be an interesting battle, I'd say.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be an interesting battle. And they will know that if they're not performing, there's all these rumors are starting already with Leroy Sane and whatnot. And I'm sure more rumors will start very, very soon. Ladies and gentlemen, do check out Arvind and his socials in the description right now. Go and follow him on Instagram and on Twitter as well. Bayern Munich fan. You'll be able to keep up with all sorts of Bayern sort of news from him, which is going to be very, very interesting. And we may see a lot more of him down the track as well in the channel this season for sure, whether it be in the Champions League, if we end up meeting Bayern Munich or any sort of these sort of news, if they start popping up, you'll see Arvind popping in quite frequently for that particular situation. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a very good day, and do stick around for the stream later on today, where we're going to talk about Antonio Rudiger and Jorginho. We may even touch a little bit about this whole Sane situation, see exactly what you guys have to say as well. Until next time, everyone, take care and see ya.